I am Dracula. I bid you welcome.
Oh, it's alive! It's alive! It's alive! It's alive!
Thou shalt rise again.
Power to make multitudes run squealing in terror at the touch of my little invisible finger.
Do you believe in werewolves?
To a new world of gods and monsters.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Eternal Midnight. I'm Chad here with Ken. How you doing tonight?
I'm doing okay. However, not looking forward to the movie we have to discuss right now.
What are we talking tonight?
Talking about The Mummy's Curse, the final of the Karras Mummy movies. And Chad, what are our thoughts?
This is easily the worst one.
It is such a sour note to finish off on. And I think we pull back the curtain a little bit. We were just talking about this. Neither one of us, I just watched this movie 2 days ago. I barely remember anything about it.
And that says something, because I watched it about a week ago when I couldn't. So I was like, well, maybe Heels are going to remember more. And you're like, yeah, I don't remember anything either. I'm like, cool.
Yeah. No,
so we just
sucks. Bye, everyone.
Right. Yeah, that's the movie.
No. We'll try.
The weirdest thing with this whole, I guess, Mummy franchise, it seems like every single title is wrong. What curse was in this film?
I mean, maybe Princess Ananka's curse on the girl?
I guess.
Okay. Let me say a few positives I can think of. Moments when Karras is sneaking up on people. We've talked about that before. I like that. And I did think it was creepy seeing the girl, sort of rise out of the swampy mud. That was sort of creepy. That was sort of cool. Aside from that, I mean, it was just dull. They were just retreading all the previous stuff they were doing, and they weren't improving on anything.
They didn't improve on anything. They didn't do anything new. Everything in this film has been done and done better. I mean, shoot, let's just jump right to the end. It's the worst final death out of all of these films.
Yeah. Oh, also, so two things about that. First of all, yeah, like we've seen Karras, in a burning building. We've seen him fall back into the swamp with his mummy princess, which, even though the mummy's ghost, that was the last one, right?
Yep.
Yeah, even though that wasn't perfect, I thought that was a very creepy, somber way to end the series. I would have preferred that be the ending and not this. But yeah, and this one just ends with like a room collapsing in on him.
The girl, for no reason, ceases being human and turns back into a mummy off screen without any indication that it was going to happen. Yeah. And then Karras pushes a wall over and a room falls on him.
And they reused a ton of footage from the previous movies.
How many times have we seen the scene where the ancient Egyptians were burying
and they would get impaled?
Yeah. We've seen that in every movie so far.
And also, these movies are only about an hour long, an hour 6 minutes tops. I think this one is only an hour 1 minute.
Yep. Yeah.
And we're gonna fill this in with like footage from the previous movies.
And this movie dragged too. Like,
yeah.
What? Okay, let's just say that the reincarnation of the princess came back. What was the goal with getting Karras this time? I genuinely don't. Did they even have a plan, or did they just resurrect him for the sake of it?
I don't know. I think they just wanted to like take them both back to Egypt or something. I will say one thing this movie changed from the last three. The Egyptian priest doesn't fall in love with the girl this time. At least I don't think.
Wasn't he trying to like kidnap her and then he killed him or something? Or she stabbed him?
Yeah, I think so.
Or was that
there was a knife fight between two guys, I'm pretty sure.
And the guy from the Egyptian got killed. The high priest got killed.
Mm-hmm. Oh, okay. One highlight from this movie that I did enjoy. When Karras is first revived, the Egyptian priest tells him, go get Princess Ananka and kill anyone who stands in your way. And he turns around and the guy just happens to be standing in his way. And I just thought, what if he just killed him right then and there? But no, the guy steps aside and I'm like, oh, missed opportunity.
That actually would have been funny because it would have
It would have been
like,
fucking hilarious.
kill anyone who gets in your way. He just kills him. It's like, I hate hitting where it's like there's nothing to say, but like they didn't do anything with this movie. Like the girl coming back, she comes back, she knows a bunch of stuff about. It shows how bored we are. She suddenly knows a bunch of stuff about ancient Egypt, and she doesn't understand why, and then she just turns back into a mummy. And it's like, what?
Yeah, this one is bottom tier. I'm sorry to say, it ended on a bad note.
Yeah, I don't know what happened here. I mean, I'd say out of all of these mummy movies, the first one is kind of like Halloween compared to the rest of the Halloween franchise, where it's kind of like on its own level. And then everything else just kind of falls, I guess, into an order of like the setting you prefer, I guess.
Yeah. Well, yeah, in the last one, they like were in a swamp in New England. I guess they have swamps there. And in this one, yeah, they're in Louisiana.
Yeah, it doesn't. And the last one, like you said, like I remember in the last one we talked about it. It's like, as we've gone on, I still like that one. It's just again, it's like there's stuff to it where it's like I said, I felt so bad for that girl. I'm like, this girl gets like such a same as a character in the next movie we're going to talk about, gets just such a tragic death for no reason. And this movie, like that, they just bring her back and don't do anything with it. It's like, well, what was the point? You didn't need to. This movie literally did nothing except go, let's make a little bit of extra cash. But still, even then, it's like for movies back then, it's like they had to rely on like, you know, either the story or the scares. They didn't have, you know, bright CGI to fall back on to be like, well, people will like the special effects. But here it's like, how do you go from like what felt like a proper ending? You know, this mummy finally got his bride against her will. It's a horror film, so it ends on a kind of sour note. It's sad, you feel bad, but it's like the mummy is gone for good. I mean, this is like the Halloween resurrection of the Mummy franchise. It
totally did not need to be made. Well put.
It's like, why? You had such a good ending. Why did you resurrect it just to do nothing with it and end it on the worst note possible?
Now I'm yawning too. And again, yeah, this one just wasn't great. It's like you said, I mean, and like the ending to the last movie, you know, yeah, sour note, but it's also like, but she does like turn back into the mummy princess by the end of the last movie. So it's like, it's sort of like this dark romance thing of like their spirits are finally together, even though this reincarnated, you know, girl like had to suffer for it. But yeah, it's like, that's what makes it a horror movie. And now we're like, yeah, like I said, totally did not need to come back.
Yeah. And then this, I mean, there's no depth to this film in the slightest. It's probably the most, I'd say, out of every film we've done on this box set, this is the most bland. This has, I mean, so far, what would you say would probably be your least favorite?
I mean, there's been a lot to sift through, but I don't know. Again, maybe it's recency bias, but I might say this is the worst.
Yeah, I mean, I remember neither of us were really that big of fans of Son of Dracula. I'd watch that before I ever watched
that
this
over
again.
this. Yeah. That at least had a few things I liked in it.
Right. And yeah, just looking back over the list, most of these I'm looking at and going, there was a lot to say. I think the next closest one was The Invisible Man Returns.
Returns, yep. And I'd watch that over this.
Same, because again, at least something was happening that was a little bit different. This was just, like we said, this was literally just a rehash of stuff we've seen done better.
Yeah, Invisible Man Returns, we didn't enjoy because it wasn't what we were expecting, whatever. This one we didn't enjoy because it was way too familiar and just wasn't as good.
Exactly. So that's really about it. I guess
this is a short one.
Even the makeup on the mummy himself didn't look that great. But
Anecdote on this. Anecdote on that. He Jack Pierce, the makeup man, cheaped out on this and just made a mask rather than actually applied makeup.
Well, I was gonna say the one thing I did like about that was this mummy has been buried in a swamp for who knows how long. It had to have been quite a while for people to be like, the mummy's not there. It's like, yeah. That almost reminded me of the Friday the 13th movies where they're always like, Jason's a legend. It's like legends take like 20 years to form.
Right.
So you're telling me like between like 6 and 7 and 7 and 8, it's been like 60 years.
Yeah. Well, it's been pointed out that I think so. There's the first Karis movie. We can say that takes place in the 40s. Then Mummy's Tomb and Mummy's Ghost happen supposedly like 30 years after that. So technically, I guess those take place in the 70s.
Well, hold up. So Mummy's Hand was the first one, but don't forget, that's when the main character and Babe were like in their like 30s, 40s. And then the next one, they were old men.
They were old men. So yeah, these are like, I guess, taking place over a few decades.
I was gonna say, and at the point we're at, like, I think Mummy's Curse was probably taking place in like the 90s.
Yeah, exactly.
It had to have been.
Bill Clinton was president, baby.
Look at that. We figured out the Mummy timeline. Oh, there we go. There's the highlight. The Mummy's Curse took place when Clinton was in office.
Yes, and they were going over to pick up their Tamagotchis and Furbies and to go rent a film from Blockbuster Video.
Nice. Ah, the 90s. What a great era.
Oh, I miss it.
Same. Yeah,
It was a simpler time.
A better time. For the dark times, before the internet.
Yes. Oh boy.
But at the same time, without the internet, we wouldn't even be friends. So
exactly. Right.
Some good came out of it.
Yes, exactly.
Oh, well, and that was the highlight of the episode, talking about how great the 90s were.
Yeah, that's where we landed at.
So yeah, honest recommendation. Just honestly, if you want a better breakdown of the film itself with a little bit more research, just go watch James Rolfe's review of it. If you're a purist, I guess watch it. If not, you're not missing anything by skipping this
Not
film.
at all.
Not a thing.
So this one's a pass.
Absolutely.
I'm probably never. Yeah, this might be, again, recency bias. I don't know. Least favorite of the bunch.
I got to agree, I think, on that one. No reason to watch this one again, ever. So that wraps it up. On to a much better film next episode, thankfully. So, Ken, thanks for joining me.
Yes, sir. You as well.
And we will see everybody in a few weeks. Have a good one.
Take it easy.